Good morning. This is Father Stephen Kelly from St. John's Church in Detroit. And we're continuing our series of daily morning meditations where we generally look at one or another of the lessons that are assigned for morning or evening prayer, what is known as the daily office lectionary. And today is Sunday, and we celebrate with great joy today what is known as the external solemnity of Corpus Christi. Now, the feast day for Corpus Christi actually fell on this past Thursday. It's always the Thursday after Trinity Sunday. But we also keep this feast day on Sunday because, quite frankly, even when we've had great and grand occasions of the celebration of Corpus Christi on Thursday nights, we didn't do this last year, obviously, with COVID, and this year, as we were rebuilding the choir, we did not have the opportunity to have a big grand Thursday evening service. We had a Thursday morning service for Corpus Christi. But even if we have that big grand service, and God willing, we will have that big grand service next year on Corpus Christi. But even if we do, we also celebrate it on Sunday because it is an important enough feast day that we want as many people to take advantage of the lessons and the collect and, of course, the entire emphasis of what Corpus Christi means. This feast day exists, and you'll hear a little bit about this in the sermon as well today, but this feast day exists because in some ways the whole institution of the Holy Eucharist gets kind of lost in the very busy occasion of Holy Week. On Palm Sunday, we celebrate the entrance of Jesus in Jerusalem, and then we read the Passion Gospel. And then on Good Friday, we read the Passion Gospel, and we talked about the death of Jesus. And then, of course, on Easter Eve and on Easter Day, we celebrated his resurrection, his conquering of sin and death. But in the middle of all of that, on Thursday night, we had the Passover celebration, at least for Jesus' celebration of the Passover. That was called Maundy Thursday because of the word mandatum, which comes the word for commandment, right? This new commandment I give you, that you love one another. Other churches call it Holy Thursday. And it is at that celebration of the Passover meal that Jesus had with his followers, with his apostles, that he institutes the sacrament of his own body and blood. That's what we do every time we gather here at St. John's at the altar and we celebrate the Holy Communion. We represent the sacrifice that Jesus did on the cross, and we make alive and real the sacrament itself that Jesus instituted at the Last Supper. What was his celebration of the Passover meal? He took the items of the Passover meal, the bread and the wine, the unleavened bread and the wine, and he added another layer of importance and meaning to them. For the people of the Jews, the Passover meal was a remembrance of God's mercy that the angel of death passed over their firstborn because they'd marked their doorposts with the blood of the lamb. And so it is that the angel of death destroyed the firstborn of the Egyptians, thereby giving the Egyptians motivation to allow the people of Israel to go free from their slavery. So it is that Jesus takes what is a remembrance meal of that vital and important event in the forming event of the people of the original covenant. He takes that meal now, not just as remembrance, but he puts it forward as a way to be nourished in his own body, sacramentally, to be nourished by grace. It is an assurance of grace, as the prayer book says in the Catechism of the prayer book, that the sacrament is an assurance of God's grace to us. And so it is that Jesus says, this is my body and this is my blood at that Last Supper when he takes the bread and the wine. And then, of course, we also know from the 6th chapter of St. John's Gospel that John says, that records for us that Jesus says, unless you eat my flesh and drink my blood, you have no life in you. So guess what, folks? If Jesus says we must eat his flesh and drink his blood, and he says, this is my body and this is my blood, we're going to take Jesus at his word, aren't we, right? As good Bible-believing Christians, as real, authentic Anglicanism is, as good Bible-believing Christians, we take Jesus at his word and we eat his flesh and drink his blood under those species of bread and wine, the blessed sacrament of the altar. How it happens, how exactly Jesus accomplishes this, we do not define it. Folks, I know other churches have long, fancy ways that they try to explain it. We just believe. We take Jesus at his word, and we do so with joy. So today is, of course, Sunday, and I hope to see you in church, 7:30 morning prayer, 8 o'clock Holy Communion, 10 o'clock Holy Communion, and 5 o'clock evening prayer with the opportunity to receive communion. And as I mentioned yesterday in our morning meditation, it is vitally important, brothers and sisters, that we receive the Blessed Sacrament. And you can only do that, even though we are live streaming these services and they can be watched at stjohnsdetroit.org. Even though you can do that, it is certainly preferable that you be here at St. John's or in your local parish church to receive the Blessed Sacrament. As Jesus said, unless you eat my flesh and drink my blood, you have no life in you. I hope you have a fantastic Sunday, and we'll see you in church.